The Committee on Rules hereby convenes this meeting for the record. Today is April 10th, Wednesday, and the time is now 12:15 Chamorro Standard Time. A first notice for this meeting was sent to all media outlets on Wednesday, April 3rd, 2024, and posted on the Government of Guam Notices portal that same day. A second notice was sent to all media outlets on Monday, April 8th, 2024, and posted on the Government of Guam Public Notices portal that same day. The rules of engagement: the chair will recognize a member who raises their hand to make a motion. The chair will rule a member out of order if they have not been recognized by the chair, and the chair will note that a second to a motion is not required. The Core Director, Ms. Cameron Nelson, will now call the roll of members.
Chairperson Senator Barnett.
Yep.
Vice Chairperson Senator Perez. Speaker Terlahi. Vice Speaker Munya Barnes. Senator Shelton. Senator Parkinson. Senator Kanata. Senator San Augustine. Senator San Nicolas. Senator Brown. Senator Duenas. Senator Fisher. Senator Teidigui. Mr. Chair, there is a quorum.
Si Jules Masi, Ms. Nelson, at this time I'd like to recognize Speaker Terlahi on a motion to excuse members not
I
present.
move to excuse members not present for the
Any
meeting.
objections? Hearing none, motion carries. Colleagues, the core meeting minutes can be found on the Google Drive folder dated 4/10/24, labeled 3, approval of 37th Guam Legislature core meeting minutes. The core will now recognize the speaker on a motion to approve the core meeting minutes for the March 6, 2024 meeting.
Move to approve the minutes subject to correction.
Any objection? Hearing none, motion passes. We'll now move on to item number 4 on the core agenda, document tracking. I'll recognize Legislative Secretary Senator Shelton, who has prepared the document tracking. And again, colleagues, these documents are available in the Google Core meeting drive dated April 10, 2024. Senator Shelton?
Sujus Masi, Mr. Chair, Hafaday colleagues, the Legislative Secretary report to date is as follows. Appointments by the Governor. There are 86 appointments submitted by Governor Lulian Guerrero to date. 1 appointment confirmed during the March 3rd, 2023 session. 1 appointment confirmed during the March 27th session. 4 confirmed during the April session. 3 appointments confirmed during the May session. 7 during the June. 6 confirmed during the July. 12 appointments confirmed during the October session. 3 appointments confirmed during the November session. 8 appointments confirmed during the January session. 8 appointments confirmed during the February session, and 8 appointments confirmed during our March 2024 session. A total of 61 appointments have been confirmed by this body. Of the remaining 25 appointments, there are pending confirmations, 5 withdrawals, and 5 have extended beyond their authorized 90-day deadline. There is 1 zone change request at this time, and there are 6 rules and regulations requests at this time. 3 bills have been introduced, 3 bills are now law, 2 have lapsed by default. There are 4 registered lobbyists with the Guam Legislature, and that is the Secretary's report. Sujus Masi.
Si Jules Masi, Senator Shelton. We'll now move to the next item on the agenda, sub-item B, ratification of referrals, re-referrals. Colleagues, these documents can be found in the Google Drive folder labeled 04B, legislative item logs. Does the chair hear a motion to ratify the referral of bill number 253-37 COR through 255-37 COR, 257-37 core, 259-37 core, and 260-37 core, and 261-37 LS, and 262-37 LS?
Move to approve that referral, to ratify the referrals.
Thank you. Any objections? Hearing none, motion passes. Does the chair hear a motion to ratify the referrals of resolution number 218-37 COR?
Motion to ratify that referral.
Any objection? Hearing none, motion passes. Colleagues, we now move on to Committee on Rules resolutions. These documents can be found in the Google Drive folder labeled 04C, Committee on Rules resolutions. Item 1 is resolution number 364-37 core relative to authorizing the Legislative Council or other retained counsel to represent Iminat Trenta-Shetty na Legislator in Guam before the United States Supreme Court, affirming the Guam Legislature's position relative to its authority to enact legislation. Vice Speaker, you're recognized.
Mr. Chair, and as I'm looking at this resolution right now, my only concern was what was the official position from this August body, the legislature, and I know if we are going to spend about up to $35,000, I think that it's important that we get at least a presentation and a support of where each of our colleagues will be voting on this measure to see how we can move forward. And I just asking that we, before we pass this resolution, could we have a meeting with all the colleagues in this August body and get a position on where each one of us wants to proceed forward. At least a briefing, so that we're not forced to
Speaker Terlai, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate the Vice Speaker's, wanting to discuss this, and I, however, think we need to discuss it here in the Rules meeting. It's the Rules Committee that has the authority whether to enter the legislature into legal matters or not. This is a case that the legislature previously entered. So it was a challenge that the governor of Guam had sent a declaratory judgment request to the Guam Supreme Court. The Attorney General challenged her. We entered the case for one purpose, and that was to say that we have the authority to pass laws that they were questioning. And so we entered for that one particular purpose. However, as we know, the Guam Supreme Court ruled in favor of the governor in the declaratory judgment action. The Attorney General is now appealed that case to the U.S. Supreme Court, and it's his position that the Guam Supreme Court has no jurisdiction to enter a declaratory judgment, and pretty much that the legislature had no authority to make that statute where we gave authority to the Guam Supreme Court to do declaratory judgments for matters of public interest and with the criteria that we listed in that law. So what's before the Supreme Court now is not necessarily the decision of the Guam Supreme Court, but whether they can issue declaratory judgments and whether we, the legislature, had authority to write a law to give them that authority. And so I think it's very relevant for the legislature to be involved. I'm not sure to what extent yet. I think we need to be briefed by a lawyer, but we need to hire one in order to brief us as to what position can we take. But I think we absolutely should take a look at it, whether, because they're challenging the legislature's authority to write a law that gives the Guam Supreme Court declaratory judgment authority. As you know, there are several cases, and there's one active right now, declaratory judgment, where the governor's gone in again, asked for a declaratory judgment in the AG conflicts case. So, without that authority, it's a very big deal, I think, for Guam. And so that's why I think the problem is we need to act quickly because the Supreme Court has deadlines, and if we are going, and we need to, I think, have a lawyer look at it and be briefed on what are our chances in this case if we enter. And so I actually think this is one of the cases that we should all agree that it's our, not ours, we didn't write that law, it was legislatures before us that wrote the law authorizing declaratory judgments, but it's been a very useful tool for the government of Guam. So I would like to see that we defend our authority to do that.
Cedros Masi, Madam Speaker. Senator Duenas.
Mr. Chairman, and I guess after having heard the speaker's explanation, then I'll ask for a further explanation on what the resolution reads on page 3 and starting with line 5. Whereas the Committee on Rules of Imina 37 and Legislature Guahan does hereby on behalf of the Legislature Guahan intend to file its opposition to the Attorney General's petition of writ of certiorari in the Supreme Court of the United States of America. How was that position for Committee on Rules derived?
Speaker Terlai?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, we could ask our counsel to
Please.
opine, but the writ of cert is whether they're going to take the case or not. And so if we oppose that they take the case, that means we don't think this is something that the U.S. Supreme Court should be deciding. It's something that should have been decided on Guam between the legislature and our own Supreme Court. That's my understanding. But if our counsel could be allowed, Mr.
Please,
Chair,
yeah.
I'd make a motion to ask her to enter this meeting on the
Is there any
record.
objection to the motion to have the legal counsel, Darlene Hyten, enter the meeting? Hearing none, motion passes.
So just as a follow-on then, and this probably will be contained in the commentary and position of legal counsel. So how then would this almost seems like it's challenging the Attorney General's ability to take this up to the Supreme Court. And so I'm a little concerned with that. I think that's legal due process, isn't it?
Attorney Hyten, you're recognized.
Thank you, Senator. The right to petition the Supreme Court is, of course, a right for litigants to ask the Supreme Court of the United States to, of course, if they're not happy with the decision down below, to ask for guidance by the United States Supreme Court. However, in this case, the issue brought by General Moylan is whether or not the Supreme Court of Guam has the authority to issue a declaratory judgment. Now, in the process in the Supreme Court, the first thing that you have to do is you need to get the permission from the Supreme Court of the United States to even take a look at the case. So that's the first step. In this case, because the General Moylan is questioning the ability of the legislature to pass these kinds of laws, the position would be, or generally, is to oppose the petition in the first instance. And then, if you oppose the position, the petition in the first instance, the Supreme Court of the United States can decide whether or not they're going to hear it. It's important to point out, though, that the question General Moylan raises in the Supreme Court of the United States is a question of first impression. He did not bring that issue below in the Supreme Court of Guam. So he's raising that for the first time in the Supreme Court. And so the first stage, really, other parties, they can either agree to have the Supreme Court hear that case, or they can oppose the petition in the first place. This resolution would be to either file the opposition, and then if the Supreme Court of the United States decides to hear the case, then a further briefing schedule will be issued.
Just sounds like we're moving to almost assuming the position, I guess then, is it the position on the Committee on Rules that the Guam legislature does hold the ability to pass such laws, and that's our position? So are we fighting our position, or are we fighting the Attorney General's taking a case on first impression to the Supreme Court without getting a ruling from Guam's Supreme Court in terms of our ability to enact such legislation? Because I know there is a very strong legal question in our community, and I've heard it before, not only in different talk venues, but also just in meeting with attorneys on whether or not declaratory judgments are such. And I would just use an example. On the last declaratory judgment that was brought forward and the argument at the courts, and almost every one that I've seen, the remedy in the end turns to be legislation. Even in the issue whereby it was members present, when Governor Calvo brought that before the Supreme Court on that judgment, it was, we will not rule on the material issue to say that any legislation that was passed prior is deemed passed because of members present, but going forward, meaning that they never entertain legislation essentially on the basis of the legislation. They give it back to the legislature to debate and to fix. So I don't even know how us going to our own Supreme Court would basically have them answer a question whether or not I could imagine the same answer. I don't know. You guys pass laws, or you have the right to pass laws. So I can understand why the Attorney General probably wanted to bypass that, because he's looking for a higher court ruling to see whether or not we're acting in a manner that is within our authority to run to the courts to really decide matters, because we've even done this now in this recent issue. Run to the courts to decide matters that the two branches of government, the executive and the legislative, should decide on the basis of their co-equal authorities. So the only reason why I raised this, Chairman, is because to me, it seems like we're moving two steps in this vein. In other words, if we just simply, I don't know that we need this full legal basis to ask this question. It should be firm that if this is what this 37th August body is doing, is basically already going forward, because that's the way I read this. We've asserted that this is our position, because we are arguing against the Attorney General's petition. That's the way I read it. So that's my concern. He's the chief legal officer of the government of Guam. He's made a motion to the Supreme Court, and whereas we normally pass a resolution to appear to state our position within our own Supreme Court, right now we're passing a resolution that in effect says we're going to get legal advice because we're in contravention to the Attorney General's position. That's the problem I have.
Oh, if I could speak on that.
Speaker Terlaw, you're recognized.
Yeah, I understand, but for me, the issue is that we have this statute, and no one has moved to repeal it, and so it's just kind of, I feel, our role. We're going to defend our statutes until somebody repeals it, or, then that's how we act. So, but as long as we've kept that on the books, then we should defend it, right? And that's our authority. Whether we are going, when we set up the Supreme Court, we gave them that authority. And so until that gets repealed, yes, I guess you're right. We are, but in every case we have to take a side, and our side would be, in this case, first of all, there's two steps, as Dar suggested. We have to say whether we think this is a question that should be decided by the Supreme Court at all, the U.S. Supreme Court. That's one. And if they say, yes, it is, we're going to decide this question, then we enter a brief, and our position might be, well, our law's good, and you should rule that Guam legislature has the authority to authorize the Guam Supreme Court to issue declaratory judgments. In other words, to follow its law.
Okay, so I just wanted clear that from my understanding then, Madam Speaker, that what we're voting on here at its core is whether or not we want to assert our position, because it's clear in the language that I just read that we are in opposition to the Attorney General, so that it's known that we're not entering into a case as a party that's just joining the question. We're entering the case as a party saying, we assert this. And I would only make that note because in the same vein, somebody who was going to repeal the law, another senator could ask the same question. Why would you repeal something that is clearly within our authority? Now, I know it would be the majority of the members to decide that. But clearly that is, that if this question were to be answered, we would no longer even be asking it. If the Supreme Court said, that's not a function and a role of legislation and a matter of law to go to the courts to settle disputes between the executive and the legislative. So I'm just saying, I'm going to note my reservation because I don't know how this body speaks this way as a member of CORE and not it being the full body to say a vote of the majority members says we are in agreement to go in contravention to the Attorney General. So I'm just registering my objection on that basis.
Thank you, Senator Duenas. The Vice Speaker?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't disagree on the importance, but this matter literally should be something that we all come together and discuss, and instead of formally taking a position that may be unknown, because I was literally going to try and, how they would say, if I had to dumb it down, is the AG, two things. Is the AG wrong? And it's a case about abortion. And if we're looking at those two things, or literally listening to what was said in the presentation this morning, I mean, right here and now, I think that we should have all 15 members here to go, to listen to the briefing on how we as an August body will move forward on this. And again, is the AG automatically wrong if this is the case? And what is the interpretation of that? Is legal counsel of the legislature going to take over, or are we going to look for another counsel as we've had in the past based on what has been presented before us? So that is my only concern, is because I want to make sure that all 15 of us are here, and there's nothing saying notwithstanding in this provision, and I'm just saying it's important that all of us here have this discussion, all 15 members. It is very, very sensitive, and just hearing the presentation before us, I don't give any disrespect to anybody. I want to make sure that we're clear of what is being moving forward, and just based on what is said by the previous speakers, there may be is this really what we're asking for, or how are we going to move from here based on what was said? And is all 15 members going to do it, or are we going to just take the majority of the members, or the majority, or the 7 that's needed here in Committee on Rules? And is that fair to all of us? So
Thank you, Vice Speaker. Senator Parkinson, you're recognized.
Yeah, I support this effort to oppose the Attorney General in this suit because regardless of what the underlying issue is, the Attorney General is trying to erode the power and authority of this August body. And so as a default, we should always oppose measures meant to limit the power of the People's House. And so I absolutely support the position of the Speaker and the Legal Counsel, and I think we should defend the powers and authority of the legislature, regardless of what the underlying issue is. He didn't like how it was ruled, and so now he's trying to get rid of our ability to do these things. That's not the point. The point is he is attacking our authority and our power as a legislature, and that should be defended as a default.
Senator Parkinson. Speaker Terlai?
Yes, if I could just add to that, I agree. And that the reason why we're acting in a rules resolution is that because our rules designate the Committee on Rules to be the one to decide to hire counsel for litigation if we're going to enter. And because it's the U.S. Supreme Court, I think we have big deadlines, and we've really got to get a lawyer on top of it in time. So I think we need to do this today if possible. So I'd like to make that motion, Mr. Chair, to approve this. And of course, with the understanding that our council briefs all the senators on their position when they actually write up a brief, and that's a time when all the senators can have their input. I think we did that in the last one, where they sent the brief around, so anyone could have an input and decide if there was anything that, you know, that they didn't like in there. But I hope it's very clear. So it's just a matter of, yeah, whether we're going to authorize council to take a look at this case and potentially defend our ability to enact that law that says that we designate declaratory judgments to be within the jurisdiction of the Guam Supreme Court.
There was a motion, Speaker?
I have a question.
Senator Shelton?
Speaker, can you just clarify, we'll be seeking outside counsel, or we're just authorizing our counsel? And what is the, and if we are to use our legislative counsel, is it necessary for us to authorize the expenditure?
I'm going to
Speaker?
defer that to committee on rules, but my understanding is that our rules provide that our legislative counsel handles all matters except for litigation, and when litigation, we have to enter into a new contract with them or with someone else. And so that would be up to committee on rules who they are going to hire or how they're going to select.
Okay.
That's accurate.
And for the last time we hired outside counsel, can you tell us, I don't recall the exact amount that was put in the resolution, but is this the same amount? Or was it?
Yeah, generally.
Okay.
Supreme Court is a little bit pricier, obviously.
Is there a possibility that we're going to have to come back and authorize more money?
I think the resolution, the language provides for a range. There's the bottom number, which is 30-something
35
thousand,
to
and then the
95.
top end would be 95. So I think we'd be okay with that range.
Okay. We're confident we're not going to spend more than $95,000. Yeah.
The resolution says no more than $95,000, so
Okay, and from CORE, we have this money?
yes. Thank you. Thank you,
All
Senator
right,
Shelton.
thank you.
Right. So there was a motion to adopt a resolution. I think there was an objection.
Yeah, I'm objecting.
Okay, so there's been an objection. All in favor, please raise your hands. Motion fails. All right, we'll now move to the items cleared for consideration of the session agenda. Committee reports for the following items have been duly filed with the Committee on Rules. Colleagues, I'd like to note the following committee reports have been filed with the Committee on Rules and are available on our legislative website for review and public view. It's listed on the agenda, and then I also provided a supplementary printout, but I'll go ahead and go down the list. Bill number 35-37 core. Bill number 41-37 core. Bill number 57-37 core. Okay, so the bills are there. They're listed, guys. Thank you. Speaker
Are
Terlaw,
you
you recognize?
accepting motions?
I am accepting motions at this time.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to place bill number, for Senator Perez, bill number 165-37 COR. It's an act to add a new Article 10 and a new Section 51A120C, all of Chapter 51A, Title 10, and a new Section 14104P to Chapter 14, Title 12, Guam Code annotated relative to establishing the Guam Solid Waste Authority Island-wide Collection Plan. To add that, 165.
On the motion to add Bill 165-37 to the session agenda, any objection? Hearing none, motion passes. Speaker Terlai?
Yeah, one more motion for Senator Perez, to add Bill number 249-37. It is an act to add a new Section 1203.1 to Chapter 1, Title 5, and a new 45112 to Article 1, Chapter 45, Title 10, Guam Code annotated relative to allowing the Bureau of Statistics and Plans, Guam Coastal Management Program, and the Guam Environmental Protection Agency to hire environmental law attorneys for their exclusive use. So that's Bill 249. Bill 249.
On the motion to add Bill 249-37 core to the session agenda, any objection? Hearing none, motion passes.
I'd like to
Speaker
make one
Terlai?
amendment, motion for myself. It's to add Bill 244 onto the agenda. It is an act to add a new Section 57109 to Chapter 57, Title 10, Guam Code annotated relative to providing a Guam identification card and Guam Real ID fee waiver for juniors and seniors in high school, foster children, and upon order by the court. 244.
On the motion to add 244-37 core to the session agenda, any objection? Hearing none, motion passes.
What's that? Yours?
Vice Speaker, you're recognized.
Cesar Masi, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I do appreciate that you have the Bill number 6-37 COR on the appended listing. I'll go ahead and have the author of that introduce that bill into session floor, but on behalf of Senator Joe San Augustine, I'd like to move Bill number 234-37 COR is introduced by Senator Joe S. San Augustine, Tina Rose Munoz Barnes, Roy A.B. Kanata, Dwayne T. Siniclis, which is an act to amend Section 90.308, Article 7, Chapter 90, Title 9, Guam Code annotated, relative to increasing the pledge or reservation of revenues of the Department of Corrections Modernization Act of 2021. Onto the agenda, please.
On the motion to add Bill number 234-37 core onto the session agenda, any objection? Hearing none, motion passes. Vice Speaker?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And from the Committee of Guam Educational Telecommunications, on the Committee of Guam Education Telecommunication Corporations, I'd like to move the nomination of Rosemary A. Clement, member to the KGTF PBS board.
But Vice Speaker, we're still on bills.
Oh, I thought we do both
Cesar
at the same
Masi.
time. Sorry. Then I'm done. Thank you, sir.
Senator Parkinson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to place on the session agenda Bill number 262-37 LS as introduced by myself, Senator William A. Parkinson, an act to approve the terms and conditions of the issuance by Guam Power Authority of revenue bonds to refund outstanding Guam Power Authority revenue bonds. Status on Bill 262-37 LS Committee Report has been posted and available on the website as of yesterday, Tuesday, April 4th, 2024.
All right, on the motion to place Bill number 262-37 core onto the session agenda, any objection? Hearing none, motion passes. Senator Parkinson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to place on the session agenda Bill number 85-37 LS as amended by the Committee on Environment, Revenue and Taxation, Labor, Procurement, and Statistics Research and Planning, introduced by myself, Senator William A. Parkinson, and Amanda L. Shelton, an act to add a new subsection C5 to subsection 3603 of Article 6, Chapter 3, Title 22, Guam Code Annotated, relative to extending family care and medical leave for miscarriages and stillbirths. Status on Bill 85-37LS Committee Report has been posted and available on the website as of yesterday, Tuesday, April 9th, 2024.
On the motion to add Bill number 85-37LS to the session agenda, any objections? Hearing none, motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to place on the session agenda Bill number 6-37 COR as substituted and further amended by the Committee on Human Resources, Hagåtña Revitalization, Regional Affairs, Public Libraries, Telecommunications, Technologies, and Federal and Foreign Affairs, introduced by myself, Senator William A. Parkinson, Dwayne T.D. San Nicolas, and Tina Rose Muñoz-Barnes, an act to add a new Article 26, Chapter 12 of Title 10 Guam Code Annotated, relative to ending discrimination in employment use of cannabis. Status of the bill, 85-37LS. Committee report has been posted and available on the website as of yesterday, Tuesday, April 9th, 2024.
On the motion to place Bill number 6-37 core onto the session agenda, any objection?
Objection.
Oh, there's been an objection. All in favor, please raise your hands. That's it.
Yeah.
Motion fails.
That's
Senator,
all I got.
That's it, okay. Senator Shelton?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I move to place on the session agenda Bill number 198-37LS, introduced by the Committee on Maritime Transportation, Air Transportation, Parks, Tourism, Higher Education, and the Advancement of Women, Youth, and Senior Citizens by the request of Congressman Hoban Guahan, the Guam Youth Congress, in accordance with 2 GCA Section 7102, an act to amend Section 3116 of Chapter 3, Title 16, Guam Code Annotated, relative to requiring the distribution of driver's handbooks to Guam public high schools. This was filed with CORE on April 9th and is available on the legislature's website. 198.
On the motion to add Bill number 198-37 to the session agenda, no objection, motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I move to place Bill number 211-37 COR as amended by the Committee on Education, Public Safety, and the Arts, introduced by myself, Senator Amanda L. Shelton, Roy A.B. Kanata, Jesse A. Lujan, William A. Parkinson, Dwayne T.D. San Nicolas, Joe S. San Augustine, Christopher M. Duenas, and Thomas J. Fisher, an act to add a new Section 3223 to Article 2 of Chapter 3, Title 17, Guam Code Annotated, relative to prioritizing access to federal financial assistance through the completion of the free application for federal student aid FAFSA by Guam Department of Education high school seniors. This was filed with CORE on April 8th and is available on our website.
On the motion to place Bill number 211-37 core onto the session agenda, any objection? Hearing none, motion passes.
What's 109?
We now move on, if there's no further bills, we'll move on to resolutions. Okay. We're now on resolution. Senator Duenas, you're recognized.
Just Masi, Mr. Chairman, and I'd like to move to place on the agenda Resolution 179-37LS, introduced by Jesse A. Lujan, Chris Barnett, Sabina Flores Perez, Roy A.B. Canata, Dwayne T.D. St. Nicholas, Joanne Brown, William A. Parkinson, Teloti Tadagui, Christopher M. Duenas, Frank Blas Jr., Tina Rose Munoz Barnes, Joe S. San Augustine, Therese M. Tulahi, and Thomas J. Fisher. And this is relative to requesting the United States Congress and the Biden administration to favorably consider providing multi-year funding needed to harden Guam's infrastructure to meet the goals of installation resiliency and ensure Guam is capable of withstanding future natural and man-made threats and disasters.
Ciudadanos Masi, on the motion to place resolution number 179-37LS onto the session agenda. Any objection? Objection? There's been an objection. There's been an objection. All in favor signify by raising your hands, please.
And then you guys are all co-sponsors? What's that?
It's the
To harden the, for the infrastructure? Yeah. Yeah.
motion
Now
passes.
you're the power guy, dude?
Just wanted to make sure we had all the votes.
Senator Duenas?
Because we got 8 right here, that doesn't mean everybody else, I don't need the votes.
So the mic was hot when I called him power guy. Thank you, power guy.
You got it.
This is Masi. And one more resolution. Resolution 207-37 COR, Annie, I was moving the power guy's own resolution. Hang on. Where's Jesse's? 260.
Right here.
Yeah. Just give me a moment. So. Yeah, I got it. 260-37, introduced by Jesse A. Lujan. And this is relative to supporting Guam's efforts in Congress with House Resolution 837, introduced in the United States House of Representatives, which seeks to reaffirm the ties between the United States and the Philippines and to further support the U.S.-Philippines mutual defense commitment.
On the motion to place resolution number 260-37LS onto the, as amended by the author, onto the session agenda. Any objection? Hearing none, motion carries.
Ciudadanos Masi, Mr. Chairman,
Ciudadanos
that's all I
Masi,
have.
Senator Duenas. Speaker Terlahi, you're recognized.
Yes, notwithstanding the rules, could I make a motion going back to bills to add bill number 57-37 COR? It is an act to add a new 5425.3 to Part A of Article 9, Chapter 5, Title 5, Guam Code annotated relative to providing temporary expedited procurement protest procedures for acquisitions funded with American Rescue Plan Act monies allotted to the government of Guam. And that's because of the impending deadline on the ARP funds.
Ciudadanos Masi, Madam Speaker, on the motion to place bill number 5737 core onto the session agenda. Any objection? Hearing none, motion passes. Vice Speaker, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. From the Committee on Human Resources, Hagåtña Revitalization and Regional Affairs, Public Libraries, Telecommunications, Technology, Federal and Foreign Affairs, I'd like to move the appointment of Rosemary A. Clement, member to the KGTF PBS Board of Directors.
On the motion, any objection? Hearing none, motion passes.
Thank you.
Ciudadanos Masi, Vice Speaker. Senator Parkinson, you're recognized.
Mr. Chair, I move to place the appointment of Bernard Neil S. Beneventi to serve as a member of the Guam Contractors License Board for a term of 4 years. It's been filed with CORE on April 5th, 2024 at 1:59 p.m., confirmed receipt with clerks at April 5th, 2024 at 2:03 p.m., and uploaded onto the website April 8th, 2024 at 9:40 a.m.
On the motion, any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. Senator Parkinson? Oh, sorry.
Bernard Beneventi? Right here. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to place the appointment of Selena Ashland to serve as a member of the Guam Contractors License Board for a term of 4 years. This was filed with CORE on April 5th, 2024 at 2:18 p.m. Confirm receipt with the clerks at April 5th, 2024 at 2:29 p.m. and uploaded onto the website on April 8th, 2024 at 9:40 a.m.
On the motion, any objections? Hearing none, motion carries.
All right, one last one, sir. I move to place the appointment of Matthew C. Cruz to serve as a member of the Guam Contractors License Board for a term of 4 years. This is filed with CORE on April 5th, 2024 at 2:04 p.m. Confirmed receipt with clerks at April 5th, 2024 at 2:18 p.m. and uploaded onto the website on April 8th, 2024 at 9:40 a.m.
On the motion, any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. Cito Masi, Senator Parkinson. Speaker Terlahi, you are recognized.
On behalf of the Committee on Education, Mr. Chair, to move the appointment of Roberta M. Abade to the Guam Commission for Educator Certification.
Cito Masi, on the motion? No objection, motion carries. Speaker?
Yeah, to move the nomination of Christine W. Boleto for the Guam Education Board.
On the motion? No objection, motion carries. Speaker?
Yeah, the nomination of Michelle M.S. Santos as a member of the Guam Commission for Educator Certification.
On the motion? No objection, motion carries.
And KGTF? No, I didn't. Okay.
Senator Parkinson, you're recognized.
Mr. Chair, at this time, I'd like to move Bill number 6-37 COR as further substituted and amended by the Committee on Human Resources.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Yeah. An act to add a new Article 26, Chapter 12 of the Title 10 Guam Code Annotated relative to ending discrimination in employment use of cannabis. I'd like to add this to the potential list because I fully intend to use the notwithstanding motion to add it to the session agenda. So I would like to put it on the potential list so people are ready to understand it's coming the next session agenda. And it's already uploaded.
On the motion,
Objection.
there's been an objection. All in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion fails.
It's okay. I got one more, sir.
Senator Parkinson?
At this time, I'd like to add Bill number 39-37 COR, sponsored by myself, William A. Parkinson, an act to amend subsection D of 7.112 and to add a new subsection E to 7.113, both of Article 5, Chapter 7, Title 9, Guam Code Annotated, relative to better effectuating the intent of Guam's Castle Doctrine Act by eliminating the duty to retreat from the curtilage of one's residence and to enhancing judicial economy by adopting a pretrial hearing to determine the defendant's immunity from criminal prosecution, and to cite this act as the Castle Doctrine Reform Act of 2023. I'd like to add this to the potential list because I plan to do a notwithstanding motion during the session agenda to add this to the agenda. And so I'd like the people of Guam to, see this on the potential list and be ready to hear it come session time. Bill number 39-37. As for a timeline for my colleagues, bill was introduced on February 13, 2023. On February 16, 2023, the bill referred to the Committee on Health, Land, Justice, and Culture. On October 17th, 2023, the public hearing date for bill number 39-37 was had. And I believe we're just waiting for finishing touches from the Speaker's office to get that committee report done. And so I have all the confidence in the world it will be done. And so I plan to get this on the potentials list and then do a notwithstanding on the session floor.
On the motion,
Mr. Chairman, I want to comment again.
Senator Brown,
because
you're recognized.
We seem to go through this every rules meeting, and I'm going to reiterate so the people of Guam can also know. Again, all the committee chairs have staff resources to facilitate getting their bills to this rules committee and getting it posted in a timely fashion. And consistently, we have members here that appear that want to put bills on the agenda that have not completed that process, which to me is a total disrespect. And certainly we can assert that we want to do notwithstanding and we want to push ourselves around as if, oh, we're going to do it anyway, in spite of any action that this Rules Committee takes. I'm going to reiterate again that if we don't take this job seriously with regards to even this committee, that we take the time to come to and review most of the bills which our majority colleagues here have on the agenda, when we're not extended that courtesy, and more importantly, when the people of Guam are not extended that courtesy, I'm going to object. And go ahead and push your weight around. Go ahead and do it. See where it gets you. Because I've been here long enough to watch and see where the abuse of power takes members of this legislature. So again, officially on that note, I'm going to object. I'm going to continue to object on any other potential, any other member who's not prepared or a committee is not prepared to put their bill before us so that it goes through the proper review process. So with that, Mr. Chair, I object. And we'll continue to object if our colleague wants to move forward with further bill.
Cizo Smasi, Senator Brown. On the motion, there's been an objection. All in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion fails. I'm good. Not all good things come in threes. Speaker Terlahi, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to adopt the agenda with the items that we put on them today.
On the motion to adopt the session agenda, hearing no objection, motion carries.
Mr. Chair, I'd ask to, since we've already adopted the agenda for the session, that we recess this Committee on Rules meeting and come back tomorrow to reconsider that resolution so that our legal will have more time to discuss it with the members.
So what time are we going to meet the lawyer? No, because it was...
All right.
Speaker Terlahi?
Thank you. So I'd like to move, if there's no other business, that we recess this meeting until 1 o'clock on Friday to reconsider the resolution regarding hiring counsel to enter to the U.S. Supreme Court case.
Cito Smasi, on the motion, is there any objection? Hearing none, motion passes. Okay, so we now recess this meeting until 1 o'clock on Friday afternoon. Cito Smasi.